pulled the electronic lock to make sure that it locked, and then I just started crying. Hey guys, so I feel like it's been a while, but I'm here to tell you guys a little story that I haven't shared before because I feel like it is an important thing to talk about, and we've talked about this topic a little, but this is specifically an incident that happened to me. And you know, we always say Korea is so safe, and it is pretty safe, honestly, compared to a lot of countries. It is pretty safe, but at the same time, like we said many times before, you know, have to be on guard. You have to watch your surroundings, just like anywhere in the world. This was probably my scariest night experience in Korea, honestly. It was like the only time something of this magnitude happened to me while I was by myself, which just made it worse, obviously. So here's the story. This was whenever I was living in Daejeon, so it was my second year. It was the summer before I moved to Seoul, and it was my friend's birthday. And when we lived there, we lived really close to like the main center part of town, and we lived like a 10-minute walk from there. And I say we because I lived in an apartment building with two other teachers who worked close to where I worked. So our schools had put us in the same apartment building, and one of the girls who lived in that same building, it was her birthday, so we were all going out. We went to a bar. I don't really like clubs that much, and so they went to a club after, and I was like, listen, it's been real, happy birthday, but I'm gonna go home. No shame, they're my friends. So they were like, yeah, that's fine. Like, we hung out, we had dinner together, we hung out like earlier in the day too. And so I went home. It was like 1 a.m, which to some people that might be late, but in Korea that's really early because a lot of places stay open until the sun rises, basically. So as I'm like leaving, it's like outside, it's just getting started. As I'm walking home, I can feel like this person is like, you know, like whenever someone is coming up beside you and you can tell that they like want to approach you. And I could just like, I could tell he was gonna talk to me as like I'm about to cross the street, and he was like, hi, where are you from, you know, like the usual. And I answered him. I said I was from the US. I was waiting to cross the street. He crossed the street with me, and I was like, oh gosh, here we go. So he starts continually asking me questions, and I'm obviously showing that like I don't really want to talk to him. It's just, I don't want to. But I was trying to be polite. I stopped like when I got a little bit across the street, and I had walked like a little bit this way because it was obvious that he was like coming with me. And I was like, I'm not walking towards my apartment with him following me. So I stopped. There was like a nearby like really big convenience store. It was just right across the road from like where everything was happening, so it was well lit. There were a lot of people around, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to get rid of this guy before I keep going towards my house. He asked me for directions, which he was Korean, and at first I thought maybe he was just like trying to practice his English skills, but then he asked me for directions. And so I bluntly said, why don't you ask a Korean person? Because I'm obviously not from here. Like, maybe I know the town and I could give him directions, but it's just, it's not like common sense to ask the person who's obviously not from there. He was like, well, they won't want to help me. That's what he said. They won't want to help me. And he was asking for directions to like this school. He said he needed to meet his friends there, but his phone died. So I was like, you know what, benefit of the doubt, looked up this school. It was like a 15-minute cab ride away. So I was like, well, why don't you just take a cab there? Like, you could tell them you speak Korean, you could explain where you need to go, they'll take you there. He was like, oh, I don't have any money. I was like, what? Like, what are you, like, I don't know what you want. So then I started getting really agitated because I was like, I don't have time for this. I don't want, like, I'm not giving you money, A. And then he was like, well, then why? He literally said to me, why don't you just take the cab with me there? And I was like, I'm not paying for you, like I don't know you. I was like started getting louder because then he tried to touch me. So again, I said it was in the middle of the summer. I just got out of a crowded place. It was very humid outside, and so like around my hairline I was kind of sweaty, and he went, oh, it's really hot outside, isn't it? And then he went to like wipe my sweat from my hair, and I like swerved back real quick, and I was like, whoa, don't touch me. And then he got really offended. I kept moving because if I took a step back, he took a step towards me, and so we were basically like circling this spot as I was trying to keep him like far away from me. And the frustrating part was like a bunch of people around like my age were walking by, and I was obviously distressed, and I was like, please leave me alone. I can't help you, please. Like I'm trying to leave the situation, and he would not let me go. And then he started getting agitated, and then I started getting worried, like what if this guy's crazy? And no one would even look at us as they were passing. But I kept in my mind there was that big convenience store like literally a few feet away. I could go in there if he wouldn't leave me alone, because convenience stores in Korea are supposed to be like safe places where you can go in if like someone's following you or something like that. You can go in there, it's well lit, you could call for help or tell the person working there. So I knew I could go in there. My friends still were like only maybe like a 5-minute walk away. So I just like kept all that in my mind. I was like, well, why don't you just walk there? Like, please just go. I guess this is like the struggle of being a girl basically, is like I was still trying to be nice enough and helpful enough for what he was asking, so he didn't, I don't know, like I didn't know what he really wanted from the situation, because what he was asking for didn't make sense at all. I don't know, like there's a tons of possibilities obviously, like I don't know, but it was just really frustrating, and it was kind of scary, honestly. What I did next was I had my phone in my hand, and so I went to, it was my friend who I'd been out with, the messaging app that's popular in Korea, Kakao. On there you can do a call, like you can call them. And so I pressed call, and I held my phone. I was still holding it. It wasn't up here, it was like down, but I held it where he could see the screen and he could see that it was calling her. And so he looked down and he saw that, and he was like, okay, you can go. And I was like, I can go? Like what, are you like holding me hostage? I guess he got afraid of who I was calling, if I was calling the police or, you know, back up, I don't know. I knew my friend probably wouldn't answer, honestly, because she was in a loud club, and I had to go this way, and I literally was like, are you going? Like, are you going? Because where he needed to go to meet his friends was the opposite direction. And so he finally started moseying in that direction, and I waited, because at the time there had been a lot of stories in Korea coming out showing like CCTV camera of guys following girls home. And you know, in Korea they have the door locks where when you close it, because it's like a keypad to get in, and when you close the door it takes like a second for the door to automatically lock itself. And there was this really scary footage coming out of guys following girls home, and then when they go in to close the door, trying to like come around the corner and open the door really quick before the door locked itself. If I went this way towards my house, it got more into a residential area where there weren't as many street lights and there weren't as many people around. So I waited to make sure that he wasn't gonna try to follow me, and then I took off towards home, and I took the long way, because if I went the short way that I normally went, I would have to go through a park where it's very dark, and there was sometimes literally no one there. And then when I got to like my block, there was another convenience store like just right down the street from where I lived. So I went into that convenience store and bought a water and made sure again that he was not following me. No one was following me. So I got my water, and then the block that I lived on it was really dark. Like there were literally no street lights. So I was like trying to walk really quick to my apartment, because I was like freaked out, and as I'm like walking as fast as I can to my apartment and try not to like, you know, get too much in my head, I hear this voice behind me, and he said hello in Korean, and then I hear hello in English, and I turn back and it's not this guy, it's a freaking different guy. He was like smiling, and I literally turned around and like ran, fully sprinted to my apartment building, went up to my room, shut the door, manually like pulled the electronic lock to make sure that it locked, and then I just started crying. It was just like a culmination of everything, and just feeling like gross for some reason, even though I like nothing really bad came of the situation, just feeling like sick about how it could have gone bad. Yeah, so it was a scary time. I felt like after that night walking home, I like always made sure I had a friend with me, because I didn't want to go through that again, just feeling like I didn't have any control over the situation, and I kind of just had to wait around basically until like that guy gave me permission to leave. Yeah, I guess it's just more the feeling, because he tried to touch me, but I didn't, like I kept moving around so he couldn't. And I think the scariest part was whenever he was starting to get visibly angry at me, because I was also getting visibly angry and just not knowing like what would happen. Thankfully it was okay, but just remember, if you're in any situation like that, remember the convenience stores, stay in well-lit areas where there's a lot of people. Not that anyone would actually do anything or help, because honestly, like you never know if anyone's gonna try to help you or anything. So also the cell phone thing, like I was also texting, like I was texting my friends so they knew where I was and what was happening. Then he knew that I was texting people, and then the call, like even though she didn't answer, he didn't know that. Literally my mind was racing of like anything that I've ever heard of what to do in situations where things could go bad. It happened, and it happens to a lot of people, and I was lucky enough that it was okay, but it was just mostly scary, and it made me feel icky and unsafe. Yeah, that was my experience, so hopefully you all could learn something from that. And if anything has happened to you, or if you want to share your experience or how you've dealt with situations where you didn't feel safe, you could leave that in the comments below. And you know, let's just help each other and watch out for each other. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and in the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.